Today, I want to talk about neoliberalism and how it's basically step one to becoming a real-life cartoon supervillain. First off, what is neoliberalism? Even if you haven't heard the word, you've definitely heard of the concept. Neoliberalism is the idea that the government should step back and let the free market control society. It derives from classical liberalism, which argues for freedom from government control and equality for all. You know, the founding principles of the United States. So, why should the free market be in charge? There's a few reasons, according to neoliberal theory. It would promote economic liberty and equality, support industry innovation and progress, bolster the global economy, increase efficiency, and encourage international cooperation. So, in theory, neoliberalism looks like this. Some people want something, others don't. People spend a ton of time arguing about what the government should spend money on, causing major government inefficiency. Then, the government goes ahead and makes people who don't want something pay for it anyway, which isn't fair, right? Neoliberalism's solution to this problem is privatization. Instead of the government providing goods and services, private businesses do. People can pay the private sector just for what they want, and in turn, anyone with goods or services to provide has an opportunity to capitalize on them and potentially make a lot of money. And as a result, things are awesome. The money flowing into the private sector feeds the economy and creates jobs. The private sector, in turn, provides whatever is necessary to meet demand, and of higher quality because competition between corporate entities forces them to improve their goods. Finally, the government is free to go do other things, like protect private property and do wars and stuff. But in actuality, things go a little differently. First off, not everything is about what we want. Basic human needs like food and water, housing, and healthcare are necessary to survival, and other things like education and access to technology are essential for securing economic opportunities. Some people already have easy access to these things through various forms of privilege, while others do not. Privatization and deregulation, both core tenets of neoliberalism, allow the private sector to profit off these basic human needs by raising prices, which people have no choice but to meet. Insulin is a great example of this. A vial of insulin costs about $3 to produce, but pharmaceutical companies charge as high as $350 a vial, taking advantage of the fact that their customers have no choice but to pay. Rising college tuition functions much the same way. While neoliberalism purports to favor equality in theory, it in fact perpetuates inequality. Wealthier people who already have access to basic human needs can invest in other things, like education and businesses, that allow them to make even more money, while everyone else struggles just to get by. So then, this system is awesome for rich people, but sucks for literally everyone else. Corporate executives pay themselves more and more and hoard their wealth in bank accounts instead of circulating it back into the economy, all while paying workers as little as they can to maximize their own profits. As these corporations start beating out their competition and securing profits by removing all other alternatives, they are able to sacrifice the quality of their goods and services to save money. Meanwhile, they stifle innovation by jealously guarding their intellectual property so that no one else can, quote-unquote, steal their profits. Finally, deregulation allows them to exploit workers, endanger public health and safety, and destroy the environment. Just imagine a world without OSHA or the CDC or health inspectors. Oh, yeah, and the government is still free to do that war thing. So here's how neoliberalism breeds supervillains. The desire for wealth incentivizes capitalists to influence the government. Essentially, corporations are kept from maximizing their profits by government regulations that limit international trade, protect workers, require environmental responsibility, and so on. Therefore, the best way to maximize profit is to get rid of government regulations. And the best way to do that is to take over the world. Or the government, same difference. What's more, neoliberalism's celebration of liberty and equality provides rhetoric that enables wealthy elites to justify acting in their own self-interest and tricks the very people they are exploiting into supporting them, regardless of their political affiliations. Just think of how many people, Democrat and Republican alike, leap to defend their mediocre private health insurance plans over inefficient and subpar universal health care. This is neoliberal propaganda in action. Now, if neoliberal capitalists were honest enough to just come right out and give a supervillain monologue, it might look something like this. First, they'd convince everyone through political maneuvering and propaganda that the government is trying to screw them over, specifically them, and that their liberty hinges on the government stepping back. They would sponsor political campaigns to ensure that elected officials are indebted to them. They'd chip away at government regulations that restrict their profits, thus robbing vulnerable people of protections in the process. Now unrestricted, they can do anything in their power to inflate their profits, including but not limited to polluting the environment, exploiting workers, taking advantage of cheap overseas labor, and steadily increasing prices for basic human needs. Finally, they make even more money, crush their competitors, and consolidate power among a handful of people who basically rule the world now. And now they can do whatever they want. Now I know what you're thinking. So corporations rule the world now. What's so bad about that? Why not just submit to our neoliberal overlords? Well, the problem is that corporations only care about two things: wealth and power. That's it. End of list. And weirdly enough, they only care about wealth insofar as it gets them more power, and vice versa. Corporations don't care about the health and well-being of people. They don't care about the environment. They don't care about social mores or personal morals or the betterment of humanity, beside the extent to which those things can get them more wealth and power. So, under neoliberalism, you end up with an Aldous Huxley-esque dystopia, wherein people are strictly constrained by their circumstances at birth, and consumerism controls their lives. So, in conclusion, neoliberalism is very uncool, no matter what Ronald Reagan says.